Hello YouTube and welcome to another Pokemon video. This video is not a Wi-Fi battle though. As you may have guessed from the graphic on the screen, today's video is my opinion on which Pokemon generations are the worst and which ones are the best, in order. A couple of points before I get started. One, a remake does not belong to the generation of the original game, but the current generation of the time that that game was released. Example, Leaf Green, Fire Red, Gen 3, not Gen 1. And the second point is, I am basing my opinion on the games entirely, not just on the new Pokemon they introduced. So with those two things being said, here's my opinion that will most likely make everyone want to have me murdered. Number 6, Generation 1, Red, Blue, and Yellow. These were the games that introduced most of us to the world of Pokemon. Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle are your first Pokemon when you don't really know what a Pokemon even is. But try playing these games now and you'll see just how awkward and dated they are. The sprites are just terrible. Some of them are so scary to even look at and you can't even tell what they are. The story, very disconnected. Only yourself, your rival, the professor, the gym leaders, and the Elite Four even have names. There's so many things that are mechanically wrong with the game too, including just a few that I'll list. The special stat, only one stat. Psychic types being godly, binding moves, critical hit dynamics, and many, many glitches. The AI is incredibly weak, making for a game that, once you actually understand what you're doing, is not fun at all. There's a lot of nostalgia, of course, with this game, but that shouldn't cloud your judgment. This is a very flawed game. Number 5, Generation 4, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver. This generation added so many great things, but it also had many, many bad things going against it. The positives for this generation include the physical and special split, 107 new Pokemon including many awesome designs, Wi-Fi battling and trading, and an awesome new champion. However, the original 3 games, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, play so slowly. There's such a long and boring run of a couple hours with no gyms and very lame towns. Your rival is just very annoying and weak. The region's not that great. You need all kinds of HMs, and there's fogs and marshes and snow just to make things go even slower, because that's what the game needed. The evil team is very lame in Diamond and Pearl, and in Platinum they're only slightly better. The storyline is forgettable, as are many of the gym leaders. I probably couldn't even name them all. Heart Gold and Soul Silver are amazing and necessary remakes. However, the biggest issue for me with those games is still not fixing the leveling issues that plague this game around like the 6-7 badge area, make mid to late game much less enjoyable. Number 4, Generation 3, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Leaf Green, and Fire Red. Adding 135 new Pokemon and many great new designs was definitely a positive. However, there were way too many legendaries this time. Pokemon abilities made a huge impact and were really cool and necessary to liven up the game. Some negative though, there's really no rival challenge. Like your rival May or Brandon just kind of are there. They end up like petering out in the middle of the game and just don't exist anymore. No backward compatibility was a huge turnoff for a lot of people to these games. The remakes of Gen 1 and Leaf Green and Fire Red, they didn't change enough to modernize the game more than visually and fixing some flaws with bugs, and the National Dex limitation was atrocious. The evil teams in Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, they were a nice touch, but they were still pretty disconnected from the storyline. Double battling was a great new dynamic, but they hardly included it at all. They did add some more in Emerald. Speaking of Emerald, Battle Frontier, amazing. Amazing. Better be DLC for Gen 6, and Gen 6 might get bumped up higher on my list, spoilers. And also, the only other thing about this generation, running shoes, very nice. Number 3, Generation 2, Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Adding 100 new Pokemon, one of the best and most beautiful regions in any Pokemon game. Bringing back the entire region from the preceding game with all of those gym leaders, and the greatest, most epic final battle in any Pokemon game, facing off against yourself from the last game, were all amazing choices. However, there are a few flaws with this game. There's a major difficulty in leveling up in the game in several areas, especially around 7 badges and in the Kanto Adventure. Team Rocket, they seem so lame compared to the game before, where it's like, oh my god, they're going to take over the world, to now it's just, they're lame. The phone system they introed was also very, very ridiculous. I mean, who gives a rat's ass about youngster Joey? Many great additions, though, to the game, including dynamically, including hold items, splitting the special stat into 2 stats, shiny Pokemon, and breeding were great. And adding Dark and Steel types was so needed to counter the OP of Psychic types. Very little negative to say about this game, which is why it is in the top half, even after all this time. Number 2, Generation 6, X, Y, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire. This generation introduced the fewest Pokemon at 69 new ones, with some very unique starters based on the standard RPG starter classes, Paladin, Mage, and Thief, and that was cool. And it introduced the Fairy type, which was also cool. We haven't had a new type in a while. However, the very few Pokemon being introduced, that was a bit of a letdown. The game looked spectacular, and online play is great. Additionally, being released worldwide at the same time was awesome for us over in North America, who usually have everything spoiled ahead of time. But my real big gripes with X and Y and Oris really are the forgettable storyline that is too easy due to EXP share. I know you can turn it off. They should have just kept it how it was as an attached item. All would have been wonderful. X and Y lacking any sort of post-game, especially considering the games that it followed, that was a big letdown. Oris offers the Delta episode, which is cool, but we all wanted and expected the Battle Frontier. Maybe it'll be DLC, and hey, then this might be edited. I doubt it. I still spend hours a week playing these games, and with a potential sequel to X and Y, as well as potential DLC for Oris, there's still hope that this generation could change, but really, for me, it's great, it's beautiful, but this lack of story that, or challenge really drops it from being number 1. And number 1, Generation 5, Black, White, Black 2, and White 2. Here it is, my favorite generation. 156 new Pokemon, many awesomely designed, and only letting new Pokemon appear in Black and White before the Elite Four were all great changes of pace. The undisputed best storyline in any main series game, with an incredible story of N and Team Plasma, as well as Champion Alder bringing an entirely different perspective on what it means to be a champion. Unova looks incredible and has a variety of different terrains, which I appreciate. The in-game play isn't too easy, it isn't too hard. The cutback on millions of new legendaries introduced in the generations before it was, I think, a perfect amount. Black 2 and White 2 did drop a little bit in the storyline, in my opinion, but the additional choices of Pokemon to catch in the game, as they didn't introduce more new Pokemon, was wonderful. And I think the weaker storyline is totally made up for by the endless post-game options. I honestly don't know if I've even finished everything yet. There's so much to do after you beat those games. These are the games that I replay the most, start to finish, and even though they're not the most up-to-date versions, and for these reasons, I believe Generation 5 is the best Pokemon generation that there is so far. There it is, my list. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? Share your opinion in the comments below. And if you like these kinds of videos, let me know with a like, because I enjoy making them. Thanks and have a great day.